Hello, I'm Skaya, and welcome to Face to Face, our weekly summary of top events from a Central European perspective. And my guest today in studio is TVP World Editor-in-Chief Michał Broniatowski. Michał, so glad to have you here on another episode of Face to Face. Michał, a lot happening in Ukraine. Today, Andriy Yermak, after having his home searched by anti-corruption investigators of Ukraine, has officially stepped down. Right, and President Zelenskyy is also reshuffling his office.
This is less important. The most important thing is that Andriy Yermak is no longer. We have to realize who he was. He was.
So who was he?
The man who was holding all the strings in the administration at Ulica Bankowa, which is Banking Street in Kiev, the man who was executor of all political decisions, whether harsh or not. He was his representative on peace talks with Americans, and Yermak was one of the people who were, because of his position, completely unconstitutional position, such a strong influence on president, was really hated in the country. And when the big affair, which started the beginning of November, which is called Mindig affair, started, the implication of Andriy Yermak was all the time more obvious. And initially, Zelenskyy attempted to defend his close friend.
Should it come as a surprise to us?
I think that he finally decided to get rid of Yermak, even if it is said that Yermak resigned. I think this is, first of all, in self-defense, because, if you look at that, the two most involved in this corruption affair are two closest friends, closest
collaborators, right?
His top political collaborator and his top business partner, Timur Mindig, who
is now in Israel.
Yes, who fled the country when he learned that there might be some problems. Right. And we are talking about the affair which is worth more or less 100 million euros. For Zelenskyy not to be aware of that is really earlier. Is really hard to imagine, because if he was not aware of this, it's even worse for him.
Right. Where does the friendship stand, right?
Yes, and so I hope dismissal will allow Zelenskyy to stay in power, because you know that, of course, during the war it is impossible to call new elections, but it's always a possibility that President Zelenskyy may simply step down, and then he would be replaced by the Speaker of Verkhovna Rada, which is the Supreme Council.
Wait one second, but are you saying it's a possible scenario that you think in this case, even when Ukraine is right now struggling with
this is the only scenario if the pressure on Zelenskyy grows and he is forced to resign, there's a way, constitutional way to do it. You don't need elections. It'll be the Speaker of the Parliament, who in fact is also a very close friend of Mr. Zelenskyy. He's the author of his political platform during the election. So here we are. Tough times, but as I said, let's hope Zelenskyy can stay in power, keep in power, because he's the face of Ukraine on the international arena. The person which is, if not admired, then at least respected in the world, as a person who for almost 4 years is defending his country, talking to the nation every morning or every evening, well, every day, explaining the situation. And it would be really, really devastating for Ukraine if he were to step down. So let's hope he will not be as implicated in this affair as many
may think. Michał, do you think that it comes as a coincidence while on the sidelines while a peace negotiation is trying to be negotiated here on this 28-point plan. I mean, last week we were here talking about it when it just came out. You were extremely frustrated about that plan. Of course, many things were just wrong about it. But now, I mean, there have been some changes and developments. Michał, can you take us through that and what you think?
First, we need to know the institution which unearths this whole affair. It is called NABU, and NABU is the Ukrainian anti-corruption body, which was created with the assistance from the United States, with their knowledge and so on. And it is as much as possible separated from politicians. The head of NABU is nominated by the government, but not, in discreet talks behind the scenes, like, for example, in Poland or any other European country, probably, and in the United States, where decision is, single-handed decision by the boss. They have 3 candidates, and before decision is taken, they all participate in public hearings. So it is as much independent as possible. And now NABU, which we may easily suspect that is under very big influence of Americans, is developing with this affair. We have to remember that when it started in November, it was not only the announcement of its existence, but also some tapes on the basis of which the whole investigation started were leaked by NABU. This is not a normal way of proceedings. During the investigation, release main evidence of the investigation. So we have to assume that it was leaked. It was leaked on purpose, and it was leaked on purpose because America, which is run by President Trump, who wants peace by any price. He wants to show that he's, worth the getting Nobel Peace Prize. He's pressuring Zelenskyy at the expense of Ukraine and at the behest of Russia, of Putin. He's really exerting pressure on Zelenskyy and his people to agree for unacceptable, in fact, demands by Putin, among which the most impossible to accept are his land requirements
of ceding territory to
yes,
Russia.
And pledging not to ever join NATO. This is simply no-go for Ukraine, but still...
Yes, but right now, I mean, with the changes that have happened, reportedly, right now, there will be no ban on future NATO membership. Restrictions on NATO presence have also been softened.
Hold on. These 2 things were left outside the proposed. Now, the plan was 28 points, now it is 19 points.
19 points, right.
And, but it does not include these 2 points, which means they say that it is left for the 2 to 3 presidents to decide on it. Of course, this is exactly what will make this plan impossible to be signed, because this is like providing aggressor with a prize for the aggression. And it is impossible for any leader of Ukraine to agree for that, and for Parliament, because Parliament has to accept it. This is...
so you think that this is no way going to bring peace? You don't think that anybody
no
will
way. The only way to stop this war, first of all, we need to start from usual, in such cases, unconditional ceasefire. Putin managed to convince Trump and his advisors that there should be first the peace agreement and then we stop shooting. Well, it doesn't work like that. And we have an example in the world, which is 2 Koreas, which just agreed on a ceasefire. And it lasts now, 70 years. We are in a situation of a ceasefire without a peace agreement. Well, similarly to the ceasefire between Russia and Japan. the parts of Kamchatka, which are still claimed by Japan. This debate was never solved, and there is still only ceasefire between Russia and Japan, and well, they can live with this.
Staying on Russia and war, Michał, let's talk a little bit about Russian assets and the frozen Russian assets. What has changed on that?
The issue of frozen assets is, we were here very optimistic when we were talking about it previously during our meetings, but it looks now that the agreement on this, on released as a so-called reparations loan, we're talking about Russian assets which are more than 200 billion euros.
Yeah.
And, without releasing that, Ukraine will not be able to win the war or even survive as a state, because nobody is capable, not only America, but also Europe is unable to agree on financing the war. And, for Belgium, which is opposing this idea of creating this reparations loan, it now becomes an issue of, they are presenting it, especially their prime minister.
We have a quote right there, yeah, by Bart Wever.
He's doing two things. First of all, he's presenting this as just a business, financial event, which it is not. This is, this is a decision about European security, because if Ukraine loses the war because it lacks support from Europe or from the Western world, right, we will very soon have Russian tanks on Polish border, and let's see what will be the next steps. So,
yeah, you just said that. Do you think that Europe doesn't know that?
Just 1 second. And he is also, Mr. Wever is saying something which is absolutely incredible. He's saying that this loan would prevent reaching an eventual peace deal. So he's, in fact, pressing in concert with Mr. Trump, he's pressing Ukraine to agree, because he argues that if we pay Ukraine this money, if we support Ukraine with this money, Ukraine will be able to defend itself for longer, and we will not have a peace deal. Well, nobody needs, especially Ukrainians, such a peace deal, which means surrender. And he's now in the same choir singing in the same choir as Trump and his advisors.
Michał, I want to shift topics, but of course, on the sidelines of this, Viktor Orban is also shaking hands with Vladimir Putin in Moscow, talking energy and possibly discussing the future of their friendship. Just one line on that, Michał, before we move on.
Again, Trump is lurking from the back because
he wishes it was him, possibly.
He was meeting with Mr. Orban in the White House recently. He agreed to allow Hungary to be excluded from oil sanctions that were imposed by the U.S. on Russia. And now Mr. Orban is taking advantage of it, having this permission from Mr. Trump under his shoulder. He's going to Putin, murderer, to talk business with him. It's nothing unexpected, but on the part of Mr. Orban, but it's really disgusting.
Michał, Poland chose Sweden to supply it with 3 submarines, right? This has been quite a topic this week in Poland. How do you think acquiring Swedish A-26 submarines are going to reshape Poland's security posture?
Well, Poland will be able to patrol its own waters and join NATO effort on this new NATO lake, which is the Baltic Sea after Finland and Sweden joined the alliance, Poland, which has 500 kilometers of the coast, simply has no navy, some very old ships, and no submarine and really submarines in the situation when Russia is increasing its sabotage on the seabed, underwater. It's really essential to have means to find it and to react.
There were talks of a purchase of modern submarines, right, for over a decade. And now this is the plan that happened. But I also want to ask you really briefly, why Sweden compared to other, I mean, there were other options on the table.
The answer is very easy. Sweden is producing submarines which are specially designed to operate in the shallow Baltic Sea. And so they are ready-made for this basin. So
Poland saw this as a
yes, and then Sweden has just joined NATO, and Poland goes European.
Thank you so much, Michał, for all your insights with us here on Face to Face, and thank you for watching this episode. We'll see you here next week, and stay on with TVP World for more news and analysis.